The last shot of the trailer. Mariel and Christy are on the floor of Colony House. Someone is down. Someone isn't breathing. Mariel screams that there's no pulse. And then Boyd rushes in. Look at his face. That's not how Boyd reacts when a background character dies. That's not procedural urgency. That is personal devastation. That is a man looking at someone he loves and realizing he might be too late. Someone we care about is dying in episode 6 of From Season 4. And based on everything in this trailer, the title, Victor on the roof, the doors that shouldn't be there, and the quiet farewell arc that one character has been on all season, I have a very specific theory about who it is. And I genuinely don't want to be right. The episode is called The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Before you've watched a single second of footage, that title is already doing something to you. It's pointing at a specific character, the most isolated person in the entire show. The one who has been carrying things nobody else even understands, for longer than anyone else has been in this town, in a kind of solitary psychological confinement that the other characters can sympathize with, but never truly reach. Victor. It's always been Victor. This season of From has been something genuinely different. Sharper, more focused. The mysteries are no longer just accumulating, they're connecting to something. Every episode feels like it's building toward a specific destination, rather than just expanding the map of unanswerable questions. Episode 6 looks like the episode where the show commits, where Victor finally stops avoiding the darkest corners of his memory, where the door in the Colony House basement gets opened, where someone we followed all season doesn't make it to morning. I've been thinking about this trailer non-stop since it dropped. Let's go through every piece of it. The episode picks up exactly where episode 5 ended. No time jump, no scene reset. We're going straight back into the same night. That's the right call. You don't drop a cliffhanger like that and then cut to morning like nothing happened. The writers know what they have. We open with Jade, still at the police station, still night, still disoriented by everything the mushroom experience put him through. The tunnels, the sacrifice room, the bones, the fractured journey through past cycles of the town. He's waking up into the aftermath of something that fundamentally changed what he knows and what he's willing to do with that knowledge. But here's the structural detail that matters more than it might seem at first glance. The episode appears to be split across 2 time blocks. The tail end of the same night episode 5 finished on, and then the following day. And the significance of that is about more than just Jade. Donna and her group at the settlement just got hit by the new scarecrow monsters. The ones that actually broke through the cabin. They're out in the open, in the forest, in the dark, with the night still going. The monsters know where they are. How do they survive the rest of those hours? That's a question this season, which has been genuinely bold about not flinching from the gritty survival reality of this situation, needs to answer, rather than quietly skipping over. The show has earned the obligation to show us what happens when the walls fail, and the darkness still has hours left. The dynamic between Jade and Boyd right now is one of the most compelling things the show has built this season. And the trailer puts them directly in conflict, in a way that crystallizes what each of them represents. Boyd tells Jade flatly that he is not sending people on a suicide mission based on hallucinations. Understand where Boyd is coming from. He has kept people alive in this town longer than almost anyone. He operates on tangible evidence, on observable cause and effect, on the pragmatic reality of keeping human beings breathing through another night. Faith and visions and symbolic interpretation are not his framework. They've never been his framework. And someone coming to him with a plan built on a mushroom trip through the town's psychological history is not, from Boyd's perspective, a plan. It's a desperate person tattern-matching their trauma into something that feels like an answer. But Jade isn't just speculating. He went looking and he found something real. The tunnels. The hidden room beneath Colony House. The bones of children sacrificed across multiple cycles. The physical evidence that the town's loop isn't just supernatural. It's built on something specific, something that happened, something that might be unmade. His theory: remove the bones from the sacrifice room, take them out of the cycle, break the pattern at its foundation. Is he right? Maybe. But this show has a very specific habit of giving us answers that are technically true and dangerously incomplete. Yes, the bones matter. Yes, the sacrifice room matters, but the idea that you can simply remove some remains and everyone gets to go home feels too clean for From. There's always another layer. There's always another cost. And the trailer gives us a moment that might be the show signaling exactly that. Boyd and Jade approach the door in the Colony House basement, the one from Jade's vision, and both of their expressions read less like discovery and more like something between confusion and dread. Here's my read on that moment. When they open that door, the tunnels aren't going to be on the other side. There's been a piece of promotional material floating around, showing Boyd with a sledgehammer, heading toward a wall that looks exactly like what would sit behind that door. The passage exists, but it's been sealed. Episode 6 might be about finding the door, realizing it's blocked, and setting Boyd up for the physical work of breaking through it in a later episode. The answer is there. It's just behind another obstacle, which is completely on brand for this show. Now, Victor. Someone shouts that he's on the roof of Colony House. Boyd looks up, and there's Victor, standing at the edge, looking down. That image carries enormous weight before a single word is spoken in the scene. Victor at the edge of something. Victor in a place that is dangerous not because of the town's monsters, but because of what's happening inside him. They talk, and what Victor says is possibly the most significant thing he has said in 3 seasons of this show. Boyd asks if he remembers anything about the man in yellow. Victor says he doesn't, and then he adds, "But I can try. I can try." For 3 seasons, every time someone pushed Victor for information, the result was shut down, panic, dissociation. A man retreating from memories so traumatic that accessing them has felt physically impossible for him. He has been the keeper of every answer the show needs, locked behind psychological walls that nobody has been able to get past. And now he's willing to try. Why now? Why this moment? What happened in episode 5 is the key. Henry, drunk, raw, unfiltered, said things directly to Victor's face that couldn't be unsaid. The kind of confrontation that forces a reckoning with what you've been carrying, and whether the weight of it is sustainable. Victor processes things differently than everyone else. He goes quiet. He goes away. And when Victor goes away, he ends up somewhere that feels like the edge of things. The roof is Victor at his limit. Not suicidal necessarily, but at the boundary of what he can hold alone anymore. Here's what matters about the drawing. Victor made all those pictures specifically so he wouldn't forget. But the paradox of his memory is that he clearly does remember. The drawings weren't about preservation. They were about externalization, getting the memories out of his body so he didn't have to carry them inside all the time. When he says he can try to remember, he doesn't mean he's going to recall something new. He means he's willing to stop running from what's already there. And Boyd being the one to reach him is so specifically right for both characters. Boyd, whose whole arc has been the constant tension between hardened leadership and genuine human connection, showing up on a roof and just being present, not demanding, not pressuring, just grounding, is exactly who Boyd is underneath everything else. And that connection, that specific moment of being seen by someone who isn't asking anything of you, is what makes Victor willing to go back in. What Victor remembers from that conversation is probably going to be the key that unlocks the final stretch of the season. And now the part I cannot stop thinking about. Colony House, 2nd floor, near the bedrooms. Mariel and Christy are on the ground, doing CPR on someone we can't see clearly. Mariel screams that there's no pulse. Boyd rushes in and takes over himself. The blocking of this scene is doing deliberate work, keeping the person on the floor out of clear view, building the moment around the reactions of the characters around them, rather than revealing the victim immediately. That's a specific choice. It means the identity of who's dying is information the show is protecting, because it matters enormously. Boyd's reaction is the tell. This isn't procedural panic. This isn't a leader responding to a crisis. This is personal. This is someone Boyd loves. And in the background, Tabitha, who is one of the most emotionally steady presences in the show, looks genuinely shaken in a way that doubles down on the major character reading. So who is it? The case for Henry gets knocked down quickly by the show's own promotional material. The synopsis for episode 8 explicitly places Henry and Fatima together at a critical crossroads. You don't write a dead character into a synopsis 2 episodes later. Henry survives, which eliminates the coffee scene theory. That leaves two candidates, and both of them hurt for completely different reasons. Donna. Rewatch episode 5, specifically the scenes with Tabitha. There was a conversation about sacrifice, about who should be the one to bear the cost if someone has to, and Donna positioned herself as that person. She passed the leadership torch to Kenny. She settled her accounts with the people who mattered to her. That is not how you write a character who has a long future ahead. That is how you prepare an audience for a loss. The practical circumstances align too. The scarecrow attack, the exposure, the sheer physical and emotional toll of being the person who holds everyone together in an impossible situation for as long as Donna has. A stress-induced cardiac event isn't random. It's earned by everything she's been through. And it would be the kind of quiet, devastating loss that From does better than almost any other show. Not a monster kill, not a dramatic sacrifice, just the body giving out under the weight of too much for too long. Ellis. This one is harder to think about because of what it means for everything that follows. Look at the synopses for episodes 8, 9, and 10. Boyd puts together a dangerous, risky plan. Boyd, who has spent 4 seasons carefully balancing protection with risk management, who constantly asks whether people are willing to accept the cost, suddenly going all in on something with no guarantee of survival. What creates that transformation? Losing his son. A Boyd with nothing left to lose is a completely different character. The one thing keeping him tethered to careful decision-making, the one reason to make sure he comes home, is gone. And a Boyd who has crossed that threshold is capable of things that the Boyd we know is not. That transformation would fuel the entire endgame of the season in a way that no other loss could. And Fatima. What happens to Fatima? Already deep in the most psychologically terrifying storyline of the season with the golem entity, if Ellis is gone. The grief of that, combined with whatever the smile creature is doing to her, carries stakes that feel genuinely apocalyptic. I've been going back and forth. But the promotional trajectory, the character arc positioning, and the emotional logic of what the season needs for its final chapters, it keeps pointing me toward Ellis. And I genuinely don't want to be right about this. We are past the midpoint of season 4. The mysteries are no longer just accumulating, they're paying off. And that means we can start making more specific claims about what the man in yellow actually is and what he actually wants. Here's the theory that's been sitting with me since episode 5. The previous massacres, the cycles that ended in complete destruction, didn't happen primarily because of the man in yellow. They happened because of the people trapped in the town. What if his whole gain isn't the monsters and the rituals? What if those are just the setup? What if his favorite part, the thing he actually stays for, is the moment when human beings break down and destroy each other? That's a very specific kind of evil. Not the evil of physical violence, but the evil of watching what impossible circumstances do to ordinary people over time. The fear and the desperation and the impossible choices accumulating until someone makes a decision that can't be taken back. Until the community starts consuming itself. Until the fractures between the people who were supposed to protect each other become the actual threat. Christopher's cycle didn't end because the monsters won. It ended because the town won. The psychological and social dissolution, people turning on each other, trust breaking down, desperation overriding humanity. That's what the man in yellow is actually cultivating. If that's true, every moment of tension between Jade and Boyd, every difficult conversation, every moment when someone acts out of fear rather than care, those aren't just character moments. They're exactly what the man in yellow is waiting for. And the most terrifying implication of that theory is that the path to escape isn't just solving the physical puzzle of the town. It's keeping the community human enough to reach the solution together. Which is harder than any ritual, any door, any bone room. We have almost 2 weeks before episode 6 drops. A holiday-induced wait that is genuinely painful when the show has been this good and this close to something. But maybe the wait is useful. It gives you time to rewatch episode 5. To find the things that felt like farewell in the things Donna said. To pay attention to the way Ellis and Boyd share a scene when you're looking at it as potentially a last scene. To sit with Victor's drawings and think about what's in them that he's been trying not to look at directly. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. A title about isolation, about the specific loneliness of carrying something that nobody else can fully understand. About Victor, yes, but also about Boyd, who leads alone. About Donna, who holds things together alone. About Ellis and Fatima, isolated by what's happening to her. About Jade, who saw something that nobody else can verify. Everyone in this town is hunting for connection and finding only more questions. Episode 6 is going to answer some of those questions, and it's going to cost something real to do it. Drop your theories in the comments. Is it Donna or Ellis on that floor? And what do you think Boyd and Jade are going to find when they open that basement door? The tunnels or a wall? Because I've been thinking about nothing else for 3 days, and the wait is making it worse.